Meron natang show cause order na those invited guests who did not appear in the second committee hearing. So if there's no valid reason for their absence again this time, baka umakyat na yan sa ano, no? Siya nag-show cause order and then baka isupina na sila. I think
Bakit parang nagbibilang po siya? It really shows. And additionally, on top of that, nagbibilang na nga ng absence, pumunta pa agad sa Supreme Court, which is a bigger question. Wala pa ngang, I think, justiciable action. There's no cause of action. Pumunta na agad sa Supreme Court. Invitation pa lang po, tumakbo na po sa Supreme Court. I think it already tells us na tatakbo mga to. Ayaw po nilang managot sa kanilang mga the actions that they're doing. So, yun lang po on that first question. Nung una, banat ng banat, kung anong banat, tapos ngayon idadaan sa legal. I think it's time for some accountability. General theme of the day, accountability for our words.
Enzo Recto, kalaban ang katiwalian at kasinungalingan, kakampi sa katotohanan at kabutihan.
Mag-Aala-Roque na ba ang mga DDS vlogger? Bakit ko po ito nasabi mga kabunyog? Dahil po, kung hindi raw sila sumipot ulit sa pagdinig sa Tricom ngayon February 18, mapipilitan ang mga kongresista na padalahan na sila ng subpoena para humarap sa pagdinig sa susunod ulit na hearing. Anyway, kung hindi pa rin sila sumipot matapos mapadalahan ng subpoena, siguradong ipapasight and contempt na silang lahat para hulihin at ikulong sa kamara. Yan ang posibleng maging senaryo kung paulit-ulit pa rin silang hindi sisipot sa kamara. Para po sa dagdag pang impormasyon, panoorin po natin ito.
Thank you, Tina. Mela Lismoras from PTV4.
Hi, good morning po, Kong Zia, Kong Rog. Unahin ko lang po kasi naka-calendar na nasa house calendar na sa website yung Tricom hearing bukas. May I just ask, ano po yung susunod na magiging hakbang ng House Tricom kaya sakaling magpatuloy nga hindi pagdalo ng social media influencers and vloggers na nauna ng hinaina ng show cause order ng committee? And just to highlight, bakit po ba mahalaga yung pakilahok nila dito nga sa nagpapatuloy na investigasyon?
Meron natang show cause order na those invited guests who did not appear in the second committee hearing. So if there's no valid reason for their absence again this time, baka umakyat na yan sa ano, no? Siya nag-show cause order and then baka isupina na sila. I think the issue that the Tricom is now discussing is very much important kasi ang age po natin talaga ngayon is its information technology and we are using the internet as a space to exchange ideas and inputs. And sometimes, lalo na pag ganitong campaign period, talaga nagagamit ito to propagate fake news. I think all of us should agree that we need to regulate this, the dissemination of malinformation, disinformation. And the invited guests who were supposed to appear in last committee hearings are very active in the online discourse. And we hope that we can get some inputs that they might like to share to the committee so that we can formulate a much enabling law that would really reflective of the need to regulate itong open space in the internet. So sa akin lang, it's not really an issue. There's no reason for them to skip again the committee hearing dahil ito naman ay pinapakinggan naman natin ng lahat ng punto, no? Hindi naman we're not actually running after these bloggers. We just hope that we can give them the proper venue where they can actually share their inputs and so that we can also propose a legislation in order to regulate to counter the propagation of this hindi mo mapulis na paglaganap ng malinformation and disinformation. Why is it important? Because democracy should be based on the information should be based on actual facts. We have to provide the public with accurate information so that they can well-meaning opinion, hindi dapat based on something that isn't true. So I think that is the very anathema of how we uphold democracy. Kung ang mali ang impormasyon, mali talaga ang magiging opinion ng bawat tao, and that would reflect on the kind of system that we would have in the coming days or in the coming years.
I think nabanggit naman po ni Chairman Adyong most of the points, no. I agree that yung ating mga vloggers that did not attend, show cause order naman po yung na-issue, and there will be other remedies later on, like subpoena, should they choose not to attend. But we really do feel that importante po na mag-attend po sila, kasi nga po yung pinag-usapan po dito ay yung I think lahat naman po tayo ay magsasang-ayon na masama naman po talaga yung fake news, misinformation, malinformation. Kasi nga po, even kahit magkabilang panig po tayo kung ano-ano mga bagay, kung politika for example, no one can agree naman po na good for the country ang fake news. Relying on such tactics po talagang it's to no benefit to anyone. As we saw nga po sa previous hearing, kahit po there are personalities admittedly have different opinions on things. I believe it was a Chair Ace and there was a private person there, si Ms. Tikia, I think. And they had a productive discussion po, which was helpful to the committee. It was very enlightening. So I think we have to reiterate po yung aming invitasyon sa mga vloggers na ito, yung mga other personalities that were invited, that we're just looking for a proper discourse. Especially in consideration, why I think it's important is that we're already touching on the surface yung tinatawag na foreign interference. Nabanggit po ito by one of the resource persons, I think it was Press 1, na there was a link between misinformation and allegedly Chinese-owned accounts, Chinese backing. There is allegedly a link between Chinese backing of misinformation in the West Philippine Sea and political campaigns for certain individuals in the country. So I think doon pa lang very important. I think another issue that we have to discuss thoroughly sa Tricom is yung commercialization po ng vloggers. Freedom of speech, understandable po yun. It's a right of everyone. Pero pag binibenta mo na po yung iyong salita para sa salapi, diba? If you are selling your opinion to the highest bidder, and if that highest bidder is a foreign entity, I think there should be some limitations. There should be some punitive actions po, no, in relation to that. And I think that's why especially important in Tricom. The problem with the previous in past years, masyadong nasanay po yung tao sa fake news. Nasanay na po tayo sa hyperbole. Nasanay na po tayo sa pagbibiro na we can't take anything seriously anymore. So that's one more thing. We have to be accountable for our words. I think yun lang po yung bottom line ng Tricom. Yun na po.
Thank you, BBN. Let us now recognize Jelly Mendez from DWIC.
Sir, balikan ko lang po yung sa Tricom. Yung sa Tricom po na gagawin bukas. Naglabas po sa isang interview si Attorney Trixie na regarding dun sa show cause order na nilabas sa kanya. Ayon daw po sa rules ng Kongreso, dapat daw dalawang unjustified reason yung pagbatayan bago patawan ng show cause order. Pero yun sa kanya daw po is, inibitahan pa lang daw siya, pinatawan na daw siya ng show cause order.
I think that's part of the rules na, internal rules. I think she's questioning the internal rules of how the committee proceeds with this investigation. Kasi if it's an investigation, pag in-invite ka kasi, talagang you're expected to also grace the inquiry, no? The committee hearing. Kung hindi siya valid yung reason niya, talagang that's one way of really attracting the attention of the one that is, skipping the committee hearings to make it more, serious in a way of by way of invitation, no, sa show cause order, so that we would know kung valid ba talaga or hindi siya valid yung absence nung guest na yon. In fact, during the committee hearing, they were also had simultaneous they went to the Supreme Court, I guess. They filed a certain, yes, they were there just to show that they did not honor the invitation of the Congress, but instead went to question the authority of the committee to conduct this investigation. So I guess that's where the committee Tricom is currently at, when it comes to invitation to the guests who have missed or deliberately skipped the committee investigations. It's part talaga yan ng rules po ng bawat inquiry in aid of legislation.
Pinagbabawal daw
May
po sa...
power po ng subpoena power, in fact. We're given that power.
Sir, yung regarding po sa regulatory framework, pinagbabawal daw po nagmawa ng ganito sa saligang batas, and labag daw po sa mga social media personalities, and tinatapakan daw po nito yung malayang pamamahayag.
Before that, Mama, parang na-excite. Di pa ako nakasagot sa first question. Balikan ko lang po, Mama. Sa tingin ko po, yung based on the rules, that would depend. Minsan po yung committee may special rules. Although true, we have a general rule in inquiries in aid of legislation. Minsan may specific. And on top of that, usually may precedents naman po. In the case of our other hearings, minsan absence lang ng isa, pwede namang show cause. But more important question po is, yung show cause lang naman, walang penalty po yun. Ang sinasabi lang po, please explain to this committee bakit absent po kayo. Parang nakakaduda po, parang may nagbibilang ng cut po si Mama. Parang binibilang niya talaga ilang beses po siya pwede mag-absent. Parang, what is the purpose? Gusto niya ba, umiiwas po ba talaga sa committee? It really speaks of the motivation. Kasi ako lang po, whether 2 days or 1 day, pag tinanong mo kung bakit ako absent, sasagot lang po itang tapat kung bakit ako absent. Bakit parang nagbibilang po siya? It really shows. And additionally, on top of that, nagbibilang na nga ng absence, pumunta pa agad sa Supreme Court, which is a bigger question. Wala pa ngang, I think, justiciable action. There's no cause of action. Pumunta na agad sa Supreme Court. Invitation pa lang po, tumakbo na po sa Supreme Court. I think it already tells us na tatakbo mga to. Ayaw po nilang managot sa kanilang mga the actions that they're doing. So, yun lang po on that first question. Nung una, banat ng banat, kung anong banat, tapos ngayon idadaan sa legal. I think it's time for some accountability. General theme of the day, accountability for our words. Now, in addition to that po, yung pangalawang question natin, ma'am,
Yung sa regulatory
batas.
framework po.
I'm not sure what the basis is po, no? Anything can be subject to or laws. As a matter of fact, media, kayo, who are the most protected by the right of freedom of expression and of the press and of association, you are regulated by franchise. You are under the jurisdiction, you are under our laws. No one is above the law. And even then, how much more yung individual lang po na if we're talking about yung mga social media personalities who are not even professionals. As individuals, wala nga po silang, ano po yung sa ating mga professional? KBP po ba yun? Diba? They have ethics and all that. May internal regulation. Tapos ito po na walang internal regulation. Ayaw rin po ng regulation from the government. I don't agree po. Sa tingin ko po, pwede naman po, it is properly within this legal batas. Admittedly, there will be a higher standard dahil we're talking about freedom of expression. But that is not absolute po, no? Kaya nga po, meron tayong mga kaso ng libel, may kaso ng slander. Kasi pwede po talaga tayo sumobra. So, I think that's what the regulation is about, to enforce na hindi po tayo susobra.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Rog, no? Wala naman, there's no such thing as absolute naman talaga eh. I mean, you have the right to say you express your own opinions, but it does not mean that you can do whatever you want with that kind of right. That's why may libel eh. Kasi you also need to be aware that there's a certain limit to your expression, to your right of expression.
Bunyog, bunyog, halikan na kasama ka. Bunyog, kapag buklod ay may pag-asa. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, isa ang pananaw. Sa bagong Pilipinas ang bunyog isisigaw. Bunyog, bunyog.